September 8, 2025. The world's attention is fixed on the Middle East, where a single decision could alter the course of history. In Washington, the atmosphere is tense as the White House prepares for a pivotal announcement that could determine the fate of thousands. President Donald Trump has issued what he calls a final ultimatum to Hamas: accept the new U.S.-brokered ceasefire and release all hostages, or face consequences that could reshape the region. The world is holding its breath, aware that the next move could either bring peace or unleash further devastation. Trump's message, delivered with characteristic bluntness on Truth Social, leaves no room for ambiguity. The Israelis have accepted my terms. It is time for Hamas to accept as well. This is my last warning. The post is instantly shared across the globe, sparking heated debate and anxious speculation. The stakes could not be higher. After nearly 2 years of relentless conflict, Gaza lies in ruins. Entire neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble, and the humanitarian crisis has reached a breaking point. For many, this ultimatum represents the final opportunity to halt the suffering and begin the long road to recovery. The Trump administration now finds itself at the very center of the world's most urgent peace effort. The president's political capital, reputation, and legacy are all on the line. Behind closed doors, advisors scramble to manage the fallout, while diplomats from across the globe converge in a last-ditch effort to broker a deal. For the families of hostages, the proposal is more than just a diplomatic maneuver. It is a fragile glimmer of hope. Each day they wait for news, clinging to the possibility that their loved ones might finally come home. For Gaza's civilians, the ceasefire could mean a desperately needed reprieve from daily bombardment, hunger, and fear. Children play in the ruins, unaware of the political drama unfolding, while parents line up for food aid, hoping for a future free from violence. Speaking to reporters, Trump emphasizes the urgency of the moment, stating that his administration is determined to bring the hostages back, dead or alive. His words underscore the immense human cost of this conflict and the pressure on all sides to find a resolution. Around the world, leaders gather in emergency meetings, and anxious crowds watch the news unfold. The question on everyone's mind: will this ultimatum finally break the deadlock, or will it plunge the region into even deeper chaos and bloodshed? As the clock ticks down, the lives of countless civilians hang in the balance. The world waits, hoping that this high-stakes diplomatic push will bring an end to the suffering and a new beginning for Gaza. To truly grasp the urgency and gravity of today's negotiations, we must first understand the long and painful road that has led us here. The conflict dominating headlines is not just a matter of politics or territory. It is a human tragedy that has unfolded over nearly 2 years, leaving deep scars on both sides. The roots of this war stretch back to October 2023, when a sudden and devastating attack by Hamas shattered a period of uneasy calm. The world watched in shock as violence erupted, and the fragile peace that had barely held was instantly swept away. Hamas's assault on Israel was unprecedented in its scale and brutality, catching the nation off guard. Sirens wailed across Israeli cities, families rushed to shelters, and the sense of security that many had taken for granted was lost in an instant. Israel's response was swift and overwhelming, launching a relentless military campaign against Gaza. Now, 23 months later, Gaza lies in ruins. More than 64,000 Palestinians have lost their lives, entire neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble, and the basic infrastructure that once supported daily life is barely functional. The vast majority of Gaza's residents have been forced from their homes, living in overcrowded shelters or makeshift camps. The humanitarian situation is dire. The United Nations has issued repeated warnings of impending famine as food, clean water, and vital medicines are blocked by the ongoing fighting. Aid convoys are often unable to reach those in need, and children wait in long lines for a single meal. But the suffering is not confined to Gaza. In Israel, the war has left deep psychological wounds. Communities mourn the loss of loved ones, businesses have shuttered, and the constant threat of violence has upended daily life. The trauma of war lingers in every corner of society. The fate of Israeli hostages held in Gaza has become a national obsession, fueling protests, vigils, and a relentless demand for answers. Families cling to hope, even as negotiations stall and the prospect of their loved ones' return remains uncertain. Multiple ceasefire proposals have been put forward, only to collapse under the weight of irreconcilable demands. Hamas insists on a permanent end to the war and the lifting of the blockade, while Israel remains steadfast in its demand for Hamas's total defeat and the return of all hostages. The Israeli government, under immense domestic and international pressure, continues to pursue its military objectives, arguing that anything less would leave its citizens vulnerable to future attacks. This deadlock has only deepened the humanitarian crisis, with hospitals overwhelmed, rescue teams working around the clock, and aid workers risking their lives to deliver relief. The suffering grows with each passing day, and the world watches, desperate for a solution. As the conflict drags on, the international community is calling for urgent action. With the stakes higher than ever, all eyes are now on the latest round of negotiations, hoping at last for a breakthrough that could bring peace to a region in agony. At the heart of the current diplomacy is a new U.S. proposal, one that has been months in the making, shaped by countless hours of negotiation and intense back-channel discussions. The stakes could not be higher, as the world watches to see if this fragile peace can hold. The plan is structured in phases, each carefully designed to address the most urgent needs and build trust between the parties. Its first priority is to end the violence that has devastated so many lives. Step 1. A comprehensive ceasefire, enforced by international observers, and the immediate release of all 48 hostages currently held by Hamas. This would mark a dramatic shift on the ground, signaling a real intent to de-escalate. In return, Israel would release thousands of Palestinian prisoners, many of whom have been held for years, offering hope to families who have waited anxiously for their loved ones' freedom. Israel would also halt its offensive in Gaza City, pulling back its forces and allowing a rare moment of calm to return to the battered streets. This deal aims to provide instant relief for civilians on both sides, families who have endured months of fear, uncertainty, and loss. Humanitarian aid would flow more freely, and children could return to school, if only for a while. For Israel, the plan is designed to satisfy its core demand, the safe return of its citizens, and a sense of security for families who have lived with the agony of separation. Formal talks, overseen by President Trump and a coalition of international mediators, would then begin to negotiate a permanent settlement for Gaza, one that could reshape the region's future. The plan is ambitious: a hostage release up front, a major prisoner exchange, and a carefully monitored pause in fighting. Each step is meant to build momentum and trust. The hope is that this pause will create space for real dialogue and, for the first time in years, a chance to imagine a different future. For Israel, it's a chance to bring hostages home, to heal wounds, and to show its people that their government can deliver results. But it also means pausing its campaign against Hamas, a move that carries political risks and uncertainty about what comes next. For Hamas, the deal offers relief for Gaza's besieged population and the return of prisoners, but it comes at the cost of surrendering its main leverage, the hostages. The leadership faces a difficult decision: accept the deal and risk losing influence, or reject it and face continued suffering for their people. Both sides face tough choices with enormous pressure from their own people and the international community. The path forward is uncertain and every step is fraught with risk. Yet, despite the challenges, this proposal stands as the most concrete path to peace in years, a fragile architecture but one that could finally offer hope to a region desperate for change. In Jerusalem, Trump's proposal is met with cautious optimism and deep internal debate. Prime Minister Netanyahu's government is under pressure from Washington and hostage families to accept the deal. Yet, skepticism runs deep. Netanyahu has vowed to defeat Hamas, and halting the offensive could fracture his right-wing coalition. Hostage families demand action, while hardliners threaten to topple the government if the war stops prematurely. The decision is a delicate balancing act: secure the hostages or pursue total victory. Trump's personal involvement complicates matters, making outright rejection politically risky. Israel's leaders now weigh the costs and consequences of every move. Hamas has confirmed receipt of the U.S. proposal and is weighing its options. The group's main demand remains unchanged: a permanent end to the war and full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Trump's plan offers a ceasefire and negotiations, but no upfront guarantee of a permanent truce. Hamas fears Israel could resume attacks after hostages are released. The group has signaled willingness to discuss Gaza's future governance, hinting at a possible new political arrangement. Accepting the deal would end the assault and free thousands of prisoners, but means giving up their strongest bargaining chip. Hamas faces a stark choice: trust Trump's guarantee or risk a devastating new Israeli offensive. Even as ceasefire talks intensify, violence on the ground escalates. The Israeli military has ramped up its offensive in Gaza City, issuing new evacuation orders and targeting key buildings. This dual approach, negotiating while fighting, serves as pressure on Hamas but inflicts more suffering on civilians. Netanyahu insists that capturing Gaza City is essential to defeating Hamas. Urban combat is fierce and destructive, with high civilian casualties despite warnings. The escalation is meant to convince Hamas that resistance is futile, but it also risks derailing the fragile diplomatic process at a critical moment. The stakes have never been higher. Beneath the headlines, Gaza's humanitarian crisis grows more dire by the day. Over 2 million people endure relentless violence, displacement, and deprivation. Hospitals are overwhelmed, medicine is scarce, and infectious diseases are spreading. Famine grips the Strip. Families survive on animal feed, and malnutrition is rampant. Aid workers describe medieval conditions, with surgeries performed without anesthesia. The psychological toll, especially on children, is incalculable. A ceasefire could allow desperately needed aid and a chance to rebuild shattered lives. If the deal fails, Gaza faces even deeper suffering and starvation. The world must not look away. The Trump administration's push is under intense global scrutiny. U.S. allies see the proposal as a crucial chance to end the conflict, while critics question Trump's motives and past rhetoric. Sanctions on Palestinian rights groups and controversial statements have fueled mistrust. Egypt and Qatar, key mediators, are working to bridge the gap between the U.S. plan and Hamas's demands. Their own stability is at stake, as further escalation could spill over their borders. Humanitarian organizations focus on the urgent need for a ceasefire and aid access. For them, stopping the fighting is a moral imperative, not just a political one. The world's eyes are on Gaza, waiting for a breakthrough. September 8, 2025. Gaza stands at a crossroads. The choices made now by Israel and Hamas under U.S. pressure will shape the region's future. If the deal is accepted, hostages return, bombardment halts, and aid flows in, offering hope for peace and recovery. If rejected, a new wave of violence and famine is almost certain. The proposal is imperfect, demanding painful compromises from both sides, yet it offers the best chance in years to end the bloodshed. The fate of millions depends on what happens next. The world holds its breath as Gaza's future hangs in the balance.